1 minute. So meanwhile, can you just tell me what does Annex 5 deal with? As you know, we also have an exercise based on this. So today, those of you who are from the deck side will be submitting an exercise. Let me pull out the Annex 5 for you. Okay, Annex 5 deals with the garbage. Very right. So in which years can you tell me the major changes that were brought about in Annex 5 and what were those? Like for example, on 1st of January 2013, a major change was brought out in Annex 5, and subsequently another change was brought up in the year 2018, 1st of March. Any idea? Okay, 1 second. Okay. So revised MARPOL Annex was first adopted in and post in on 1st of January 2013, and then later on a revision was made again. A major amendment was made on 1st of March 2018. So this is what defines the garbage: all kinds of food waste, the domestic waste, the operational waste, and all plastics, cargo residues, incinerator ashes, cooking oil, fishing gear, animal carcasses, and then of course e-waste. Okay. Thing to note is that whenever the garbage is mixed with or contaminated, sometimes what happens is that in the garbage, there are various categories of the garbage that we'll be discussing in detail now. Sometimes the garbage are mixed, two categories are mixed. So in that case, what we need to do? We need to follow the more, we need to follow the more stringent requirement. Is that clear? Please confirm. A lot of time there is this confusion. Good. So more stringent requirements shall prevail in nutshell. Now, okay, before I begin with I don't know if you have had laid your hands at, have you seen this training material 152? Those of you who are already there, okay, good, very good. So those of you who have been with Anglo Eastern, they must be aware of this 152 training material. Okay. Now, uh, the major change that was brought out on 1st of March 2018, it was that the garbage record book was split into two parts. Garbage record book was split into two parts. Garbage record book part 1 and part 2. So can you tell me what does this part 1 deal with largely? Part 1 is mandatory for all the ships, number 1. That means all the ships are going to have the garbage record book part 1. It is mandatory for all kinds of ships, irrespective of whether it is a bulk carrier, a container carrier, a gas carrier, or whatever it is. And Garbage Record Book Part 2. This was introduced for catering to the cargo residues, originating out of the cargo spaces of a bulk carrier. In other words, can I say that the cargo residues emanating out of the bulk carriers, they only, or in other words, bulk carriers will only have this garbage record book part 2. No other ship, whether it is a tanker, a gas carrier, or a container, is going to have this garbage record book part 2. Is this part clear? Is this part clear? Okay. Uh, uh, so only the bulk carriers are going to have this garbage record book part 2, whereas part 1 will only be with the part 1 will only be with the part 1 will only be with uh, the with all the ships. Is it clear? Yes, for all the ships. Now, the major categories which are to be noted down in the garbage record book part 1 are the category A to category I. I will discuss about these categories in detail a little later. Category K, A to category I, that means all the garbage that is being generated on the ship apart from the cargo hold areas is generally recorded in the part 1 of this garbage record book. And in bulk carriers, whatever category of the cargo residues is generated in the bulk carriers, that is being recorded under the category J and the category K. Can you tell me what is the category J and category K? Category J is for the cargo residues which are not harmful to the marine environment, and category K is catering to those cargo residues which are harmful to the marine organisms. Is this part clear? Good, very good. So let us try and see, run through these category A to category I. and then category J and category K that are to be recorded in the bulk carriers. Okay, let us just run through this. So category A largely deals with the plastics. Category B deals with the food wastes. Category C is for all kinds of the domestic waste. All types of waste not covered by other annexes that are generated in the accommodation spaces on board the ship. Domestic waste does not include grey water. See, here also it is clearly mentioned that grey water is not there in the Annex 5 even. Category D is regarding the cooking oil. So can you tell me how have you been handling the cooking oil on the ships? How have you been handling? Cooking oil is almost always collected, incinerated or landed. Okay, okay. Mixed with rags and burnt. Okay. Now remember one thing. Never ever put the cooking oil in any of the sludge tanks or the waste tanks. Remember, the sludge oils or the waste oils, these are Annex 1 pollutants, but this cooking oil is Annex 5 pollutant. Cooking oil is still maybe a vegetable oil, or but the uh, category that is Annex 1 are all the mineral oils. So you cannot mix the two types. A lot of time there is a confusion regarding this, so never ever put it in the sludge tank, etc. Now, what does Marpol say? Very rightly you have mentioned, Marpol says that you can mix the cooking oil along with the rags and you can incinerate it in the incinerator. But remember, such an entry will be signed by the second engineers. All the incinerator entries in the garbage record book are to be signed by the second engineer only. Is this part clearly understood? Incineration entries are to be signed by the second engineer only, and chief officer even no need to countersign that. Only the page will be signed by the master. Now, here what you are doing when you are incinerating the cooking oil, you are actually mixing two types of pollutants. Cooking oil is category D pollutant and rags come under the category of F, that is the operational waste. So you are mixing with the oily rags and then you are burning it. I will show you that entry also, how you would make that entry in the garbage record book. So, okay, I'll show you right now if you want. Okay. Can you see here on this particular entry? Focus on this particular entry. Okay. Sorry, not on this, not on this. Just a minute. This one. These two entries. This entry and this entry. You will see that the date and timing is same, position is same, position is again same, start stop timings are same. That means only one operation has been performed, but the two entries have been made because there are two separate categories of the cargo residues that of the waste that has been incinerated. One is category D, that is cooking oil, and its quantity is about 0.01, whereas the other is the uh, oily rags and the quantity was about 0.02. So that means only one operation, but two entries are made, and you can see they are being signed by the second engineer only. Is this part clear?
So, any particular ratio or something for mixing, or 50 to 75% or something?
No, it should be just able to, you should be just able to incinerate. No ratio, nothing of that sort.
Okay.
Because it is, yeah. Okay. Now, if you see, whenever you are making an entry in the garbage record book, you will have to mention the date and time. This time, of course, will be the end of the operation. Then the position of the shift, latitude, longitude. Okay. This again will be the end of the operation. Then what category you are discharging. For handling various categories of the waste or the garbage, you can either dispose it to the sea or you can give it to the reception facility. Okay. Or you can incinerate it. These are the only things which you can do. So accordingly, you will fill up in the columns. But remember, all of these columns you will have to make an entry in the meter cube. That is in the volume. Remarks can be put here, and then of course the certification can be done here or the area. Now, let us get back to the discussion of various categories that we were discussing. Okay. So category D is pretty clear to you now. Then how an entry is to be made? So this is what you can do as per the Marpol. But on the first day I had explained you one clear thing, that with this with the company EMS system, that is the SMS system, we try to make the procedure a notch safer, a notch higher as far as the regulatory compliance is concerned. So as a standard, company's cooking oil handling policy is that it is to be landed ashore only. It is to be landed ashore only. Is that clear? Please confirm on this. Further, category E is the incinerator ashes. It means ash and clinkers related to shipboard incinerators used for the incinerating the separation of the garbage. Category F would comprise of all the solid waste not covered by other annexes that are collected on board during normal maintenance or the operation of a ship, or used for cargo storage and handling. Operational waste also includes cleaning agents and the additives. That means whatever cleaning agents you are using, they will also be accounting for the operational waste and the additives contained in the cargo hold and external wash water. Operational waste does not include grey water, bilge water, etc. So I hope, you are now clear as to what would come under the category F. Category G is for animal carcasses. Anglo is not carrying any. Fishing gear, again not concerned with Anglo much because we don't have any fishing carriers also. Category I is that of the e-waste. Now e-waste means electronic waste as well as the electrical waste. Okay. So it would mean while electronic gadgets, instruments, equipments, computer, printer cartridges, and even the electrical components. Like for example, it is washing machine. So washing machine will be the category I garbage if it is not working. Is that clear? Okay. Category J and category K subsequently would mean, so category J means the cargo residue. So first of all, you should know what is a cargo residue in a bulk carrier. So when you are in a bulk carrier, you would know that when you are unloading the vessel, a lot of cargo it spills on the deck, a lot of cargo is left out also in the holds. So cargo residues means the remnants of any cargo, the remains of any cargo which are not covered by other annexes to the present convention and which remain on deck or maybe in the holds following or after the loading and unloading operation, including loading and unloading excess or spillage. Even whatever cargo remains in the holding tanks, in the cargo holds, whatever excess is left, that would also be cargo residue, and the spillage, etc., everything will be contributing to cargo residues only. Now, cargo residue may be either in the wet condition or in the dry condition, or it can even be mixed with the wash water. Isn't it? When you are carrying out the cargo cleaning, at that time it is mixed with the wash water. But it does not include cargo dust remaining on the deck and sweeping or dust on the external surfaces of the ship. So far so good? So far so good? Okay. Category K means those cargo residues which are harmful to the marine environment. So here it was non-HME type. Category J was non-HME type, whereas category K is HME type. Now what qualifies this cargo residue as an harmful marine type or not? Okay. In other words, what I am leading you to is that a vessel should have some kind of a documentation on board citing that whatever cargo it is carrying in its cargo holds, it is of non-HME type. In other words, if any inspector comes and he asks the cargo what you are carrying is what type, is it HME or non-HME, for that you should have some kind of a documentation on board. It can be as simple as a letter from the supplier. This you should be able to produce in order to prove what kind of a cargo uh, you are carrying on board your ship. Understood? Now, if it is an HMA type of an cargo, it would imply, see, all the cargo residues are considered to be harmful to the marine environment if the residues of solid bulk cargoes which are classified according to the criteria of United Nations globally harmonized system of classification and labeling. Okay, if the cargo residue satisfies any of the following criteria, then it would qualify as an HME type of a cargo residue. Let us see what criteria it is. If it is acutely toxic to the aquatic organism, if it is cancer causing, if it is chronic aquatic, it means if it is toxic to either the plants or the animals of the marine life, or if it is cancer causing or cancer inducing in the marine organisms, or if it causes any kind of gene mutagency in them, or if it hampers their reproductive ability, or if it targets a specific organ in their body. In all these cases, you would find that it qualifies as an HME type of a cargo residue. Is that part clear? So for handling the HME cargo residue, simple and cargo residue, now you know what it is. So for handling it, one simple straightforward thing is you can throw nothing into the water. You have to land it ashore to the respective uh, shore reception facility. Is this part clear? So whether it is cargo residue from the deck or from the hold, it does not matter. If it is there, you will have to always and always land it ashore to the concerned shore reception facility. That's all. That is for the category K. Category J, however, let us try and understand this discharge. Okay. Now, when you are carrying the category J type of cargo, then the cargo residues would be there. Now, let us say while sailing a ship, the bilges are there in the cargo hold. And it is, since it is category J, that is non-harmful, so you can always pump out these bilges from the cargo holds. You can always pump out these from the cargo hold. There is no problem of any kind. Is this part clear? Okay. Now next is, whenever you are cleaning the cargo holds, there is a likelihood that some cargo residue is likely to get mixed with the water and go outside or go overboard along with the wash water. Okay. Let's try and understand this. After discharging the cargo, prior washing the cargo holds, these should be swept clean thoroughly in order to collect the maximum cargo residues. Cargo residues should be collected separately and disposed as per the MARPOL Annex 5 requirement, and disposal shall be recorded in the Garbage Record Book Part 2 of the GRB. Any cargo residue disposal is to be recorded in the Garbage Record Book Part 2. Now, the hold wash water shall be pumped out according to MARPOL Annex 5 and same to be recorded in the deck logbook. Now, whenever you are cleaning the holds, some amount of cargo residue will be mixed with the wash water and will go out. So only the water part you will be recording in the deck logbook. Whereas tentatively how much amount of cargo has gone as cargo residue along with the hold wash water cleaning. Now this entry should be made in the garbage record book. So of course you will not know the exact value, but then tentative figure would be clear to you. So you can always quote that. And that is again to be quoted in the meter cube. Is this part clear? Okay. Now, the hold wash water shall be pumped out according to MARPOL Annex 5. So only water part in the wash water is to be entered, recorded in the deck logbook. This entry should include start-stop timings, position, quantity, and recording of the quantity of the wash water pumped out through the ship's fixed piping system in garbage record book is not required. So you will be in GRB, you will be recording only and only the amount of the cargo residue that has gone out along with the wash water. So wash water entry will be made here in the deck logbook, while the cargo residue part will be accounted for in the garbage record book part 1, part 2. Is that clear? Okay. Now, let us see typical examples of the categories. For example, pyrotechnics, which are expired, then synthetic ropes, fishing nets, etc., and even the other plastic. Now, please pay attention here. Cigarette butt filters are also to be accounted for under the plastics category. Is this part understood? Cigarette butt filters will be treated as the plastic. Clear? Okay. Very good. Category C, that is the domestic weight category, includes tea bags, tissue paper, and even the expired medicines. So all your expired medicines will be accounted for in the category C. Category F, typical example, the paint buckets, empty oil drums, wire ropes, used fuel oil filters, etc. These days, in fact, the inspectors come, they check the PMS, and if you have removed or changed any filter, they ask, okay, where is the filter? Now, the scavenge space carbon, dry soot from the economizer, paints, scales and rust flakes, all of these are under the category F. Now let us say there are rags. You were cleaning the cargo hold and some rags are produced. in the process. So, can you incinerate them on the ship? Very good. So anything coming from the cargo holds is not to be incinerated on the ship's incinerator. What about the scavenge waste carbon? Can you incinerate this? Or let us say the soot from the exhaust gas economizer. Can you incinerate that? Just give me a moment. You cannot incinerate the scavenge waste carbon, or for that matter, even whatever the soot is there which is collected from the soot uh, from the economizer cleaning. Is that part clear? You cannot. You have to land it ashore. Is that part clear? If it is, just type in OK. Thank you. Now, when you talk of the category I, it includes, I told you, all the electrical and electronic parts, be it batteries, be it CRTs, cathode ray tubes, be it tube lights, bulbs, gadgets, computers, printer cartridges, equipment, etc. All of these would be coming under the category I. Pretty clear? Let's now move ahead. Now, whenever you are landing the garbage ashore, you are required to obtain the receipt from the garbage collector. Okay, so a receipt sample should much look like this, which should clearly indicate the name of the vessel, date, place, time of disposal, and segregate the waste possibly, and then you may even split it if it is possible for you. And then of course other important things, like for example, you have landed the expired medicines. So for that you can provide a breakup for the expired medicines. So category C, expired medicines breakup receipt should be obtained. I will show you. Here you can easily see category C landed was 0.2. Okay, and here is the expired medicines and all. Quantity total is 0.01. Similarly, expired pyrotechnics, they would fall in category A, plastics. Your oil filters would come in category F. So you can obtain the so-called segregated or separate receipt for them. Now, I told you that GRB is divided, garbage record book is divided into two parts. Sorry, part 1 and part 2. Okay, so part 1 is further divided into two parts. that is section 1 and section 2. Whereas garbage record book part 2 has got no other section, only one section is there. Okay. So here in the first category or the I, you will have to, in the first section, you will have to record all the normal discharges of category A to category I. All of these will be recorded in the category wise in the garbage record book part 1 section 1. Section 2 is for the accidental discharges. What is it? It is for the accidental discharges. So all the accidental discharges, irrespective of what category it is, irrespective of what category of garbage it is, be it category A to I or be it category J and K, all of the accidental discharges would be coming under the section 2 of the garbage record book part 1. Whereas the normal discharges of the cargo residues will be recorded under garbage record book part 2, which has got only one section, no other part is there. So far so good? Please confirm. So let us say there was a drum lying on the deck filled with the cargo residue which leaked and went overboard. So where would you make an entry in the garbage record book? Remember, category is J. Part 1, section 2. Very good. All the accidental discharges are accounted for in the section 2 of garbage record book part 1. So here you can see the sample entries that you will be making in the garbage record book part 1. So all category A to category I, part 1, section 1. Okay. I hope this is pretty clear to you. Now entries have to be made preferably on the daily basis. There was an incident in the Anglo vessel itself that one of the chief officers he didn't used to write it on the daily basis. At a later stage, you are likely to forget whether the vessel was en route or whether the vessel was at anchorage on that particular date for which you are making entry. So it would always make sense to fill it up on the same day. Okay. So on your screens right now, you can see all the entries how you would be making for the garbage record book part 1 section 1. Any doubt if you have, please ask. Is my audio low? Am I audible now? Abhishek. Am I audible to all of you? Right now what you are seeing are the entries of the garbage record book part 1 section 2. That means all the exceptional entries or the accidental entries may be recorded here in the garbage record book part 2, garbage record book part 1 section 2. Now these are the entries on your screen. You can see here, you will have to make the remarks on the reason for the discharge or loss of the, you can make a general remark here. Okay. Now, for example, let us see category C. What is category C? Quickly. Domestic waste. Very good. So probably domestic waste was lying on the drum in the at the deck. So metal garbage drum containing plastic garbage washed overboard due to shipping seas. Garbage storage relocated and secured effectively. What has happened? Okay. Now, even you can see the category J is recorded in here. So far, so good. This is garbage record book part 2. It has got only one section. In this, you can record only, it is for the bulk carriers, so category J and category K only. You can see category K will always be landed ashore, whereas other categories you can deal with. Okay. So far, so good. All clear. Good. Very good. Wait. So let us see. Now, there is one exercise which has been sent to you. How many tech guys are there? Let me check. We have a master. We have 2, 3, 4. So there are about four candidates from the deck side. All of you will have to submit the garbage record book exercise which you have received. Please confirm if you have received the garbage record book exercise along with the ORB exercise. Have you received it? Good. So that what about ORB exercises? Have you finished the ORB exercise and sent across? How many of you have not filled up? Have not done the ORB exercise? Okay, good. So this exercises form the integral part of the course and you will have to send it. Acha, how many of you have filled up the course entry forms or who have not filled up the course entry forms? Those of you who have not filled up the course entry forms. So all of you, I presume, has filled up the course entry forms. Just write down done. Okay, good. So Let me just check. Okay, right now on your screens are the placards that you need to post. Are you able to see these on your screens? So you can see here is the respectable color. Like for plastics, it is red. Blue for the food waste, domestic waste, it is black. Cooking oil, white. Then incineration ashes is green. Then operational waste is yellow. Okay. So here, if you see how to handle the various categories. Now, for the food waste, the beyond 300 nautical miles from the nearest land, where the vessel is en route and as far as practicable, the food waste which is communicated or ground can be discharged. Clear? And between 3 to 12 nautical miles, that means you can discharge it. Beyond 12 nautical miles, you can discharge uh, the solid food waste, not a problem. And within the 3 nautical miles, of course, you cannot discharge any food waste. Is this part clear? Then the food waste which is not communicated on the ground outside the special areas beyond 12 nautical miles, but within the special areas, discharge is prohibited. Okay, regarding C, D, E category, all discharge is permitted, is prohibited. Category F is operational waste, again discharge is prohibited. Okay. You can see the category F, then category G. Not only that, have a look at category J and K. Category K is harmful to the environment, always all the discharge prohibited, everything which will be landed ashore. For category J, cargo residues not contained in the wash water, which are not contained in the wash water, okay, then they can be discharged beyond 12 nautical miles from the nearest land and en route to as practicable. Similarly, non-HME, everything is prohibited. So in case, let us say, let's do some more placards. This is in the polar region. You can see most of the discharge is prohibited except for the food waste. And of course, you can see all the discharge is prohibited. Just hold on. So most of the discharge here is permitted. Only food waste is permitted, and that too you see, and some amount of category J of cargo residues. Okay, that too, when they are permitted, just have a look at that. That whenever whenever the cargo residues, cleaning agents, or the additives contained in the hold wash water do not include any substances classified as HME. That means if it is a non-HME type, then only it can be discharged, number one. Number two, both the departure port as well as the port of call, next port of call, both are lying within the Arctic waters. You cannot discharge. Uh, then the discharge is permissible. Then no adequate reception facilities are available at either of the ports. If either of the ports the vessel is calling, they don't have the reception facilities, and the vessel is not going out of these uh, Arctic waters. That means both the port of calls are lying within the Arctic waters. In that case, the cargo residues and food waste may be discharged, but then there are certain conditions. The condition is the discharge of the cargo hold wash water containing the residues shall be made as far as practicable from the areas of ice concentration exceeding 1/10. That means the volume of the ice outside, it should be less than 1/10 of the concentration. But in case it is uh, less than, and also 12 nautical miles from the nearest land or the nearest ice shelf. Both these conditions have to be satisfied, then only the cargo residues can be discharged. Okay. So for J, cargo residues not contained in wash water, discharge permitted. But if it is in wash water, then discharge is permitted only in compliance with paragraph this. That means when your both port of calls are within the same Arctic water, and both the port of calls do not have any kind of facility to take this kind of cargo residues. Then only they can be discharged beyond 12 nautical miles from the ice shelf, and the concentration of the ice should be 1/10. Is that clear? So both polar regions and outside the polar region, I hope the discharge is all clear. For cargo residues, please be reminded that they should be non-HME type. If it is not contained in the wash water, then beyond 12 nautical miles outside the special areas, and when the vessel is en route and as far as practicable, then you can dump that. But within the special areas, you cannot discharge. Okay. If it is in the wash water, again you will have to discharge it beyond 12 nautical miles from the nearest land while the vessel is proceeding en route. So I hope that settles all your confusion. Any queries, any questions that you have? I'm free to take the questions. Will you be able to do the exercise now? I mean, like by today evening and send it tomorrow. All four of you from the next side.
Good afternoon. Please advise to me, according message, garbage record book should be done only by deck side candidates.
Yes, only
Okay.
deck side. Only deck side.
Okay. Thank you.
Only deck side. But all record book by all deck side and well as the engine side. There is something which I wanted to show you. What is the kind of mess the plastics is creating in our day-to-day lives? You know, Anglo is totally against the use of one-time plastic. Okay. That is why you see all the crew members and all the officers who go on board, they are being provided with the metal bottles. So you can carry your metal bottles along with you. They will be given to you on your ship. So each one crew member and the officers will be given. So for the water and all, you can use that bottle easily. Clear? I will show you This is the message from the CEO. Again, can you see? CEO Bjorn Hogarth. He is discouraging the use of the single-use plastic in all this message. I would like to show you one small video related to plastics. Okay. So in case, see, I'll try to show you the video. In case you are not able to hear the sound or you are not able to see the video, do write in the chat box so that we can do something for the connection. Okay. Are you able to hear and see the video? Please confirm. Good, thank you. Island in the Pacifics. This is what we get from the birds, stomach of the birds, which eventually die.
Do we have the courage to face the realities of our time and allow ourselves to feel deeply enough that it transforms us and our future? Come with me on a journey through the eye of beauty. Across an ocean of grief. And beyond.
Okay, this was only for the plastic awareness that how the plastic is actually eventually destroying our environment. May I ask a couple of questions here to you regarding the incinerators? Since we have talked about the plastics, so can you tell me whether we can burn the plastics in the incinerators? Can we burn plastics in the incinerators? So some of you are saying no, some of you are saying yes. Okay. Now, if approved means you will check the type approval certificate. So if you check the type approval certificate, what will you check in it? Will it be written that plastic? See, all the incinerators, let me tell you, okay, now all the incinerators which were put on the ship, which were commissioned on the ship on or after 1st of January 2000. In all these ships, in all these type of incinerators, you will find one thing is there, that you can incinerate the plastics. You can incinerate the plastics. In all of these, that means 1st January 2000 or after that. In all the incinerators, you can burn the plastics, you can burn the PVCs in it, number one. In all these incinerators, you will have to see there is a type of, you will have to see that they have to meet certain temperature requirements. What they have to do? They have to meet certain temperature requirements. Is this part clear? Can you tell me how many types of incinerators are there on ship? So if your incinerator is dated before this date, then you cannot burn plastics in the incinerators. In fact, these were given type approval. All the incinerators before 1st January 2000 were given type approval under the IMO 0.59. That means you cannot burn the incinerators. But after that, whatever type of rules were given, okay, batch feed and continuous feed type. Yes, Sir Kanwar, can you differentiate the two and the requirements? Switch on your mic, please, Sir Kanwar.
Sir, in batch feed type, we are to feed rags and other garbage before firing up the incinerator. Here, the temperature requirements are, if I'm not wrong, is if I'm firing on diesel, it's 600 degrees Celsius in 5 minutes and 850 degrees Celsius on sludge oil. Whereas in batch feed or in continuous feed, we garbage and other consumables can be burnt during the operation of an incinerator. Again, plastics are to be added only after the temperature reaches more than 850 degrees Celsius.
That's very right, Sir Kanwar. So remember, there are two types of incinerators: the batch feed type, in which you load the incinerator and then you burn it. As he has said, that the garbage is loaded in batches, and while the incinerator is running, you cannot add the garbage in it. Okay. So here the temperature requirements are that 650 temperature should be reached within 5 minutes of the incinerator firing, if you are firing the, or if you are burning the garbage, and 850 when you are burning the sludge. And the upper temperature limit is 1200 degrees centigrade at which this incinerator should cut off. Is this part clearly understood for the batch feed type? Now, for the continuous feed type, such type of incinerators have got two chambers and a sluice arm, and you can continuously feed this incinerator with the garbage or the sludge. The temperature requirements here are, in fact, you have to preheat it. In fact, you have to preheat this incinerator up to a temperature of 850 degrees centigrades. And then only should you put the garbage inside this. Is this clear? Then only should you burn the sludge in it. Be so kind and advise how much percentage accept plastic in ash? See, whenever you are burning plastic in the incinerator, then some whatever ash is obtained, you have to collect it separately and land it ashore separately as an ash of the incinerator from the plastic material. Is that clear, Mr. Geltov? You will not mix it with the other ash. Okay, so you will land it ashore and also obtain the landing receipt preferably from them. Always the upper limit is 1200 degrees centigrade, even in the continuous feed type and the batch feed type. That means at 1200 degrees centigrade, it should cut off. Now, in the ECA areas, can you burn the sludge? Next question. In the ECA areas, can you burn the sludge? Okay. First thing is, I forgot to mention about the plastics. Our company policy on plastics is that you will collect the plastics and you will land it ashore. You will not incinerate it. So all the plastics as per our company policy is to be collected and is to be landed ashore. Clear? Now, regarding the ECA area usage of the incinerators, let me tell you that you can use the incinerator in the ECA areas. There is no problem in using the incinerator in the ECA areas. Provided when you are preheating it to a temperature of 850 degrees centigrade, you are using the compliant low sulfur fuel. So once this temperature comes, then when you start to feed the sludge you have no control. It can be high sulfur sludge or low sulfur, it does not matter. Okay, so there is no such regulation which says that you cannot burn the incinerator cannot burn the sludge in the incinerator in the ECA areas. Okay, provided you are using the fuel for preheating, that is the compliant 0.1% sulfur fuel, then there is no problem. You can use it in the ECA areas also. See how much sludge you are burning, 400, 500 liters a day, compared to how much SOx, NOx, etc. is being emitted by the engine and the generators. In main engines, with 5,000 TUs, 10,000 TUs, container vessels, they are burning about 170 metric tons a day. That is a huge amount as compared to 400, 500 liters of incineration that you do. Clear? So I hope that settles all your questions. Please turn on your videos, switch on your videos, please. All of you. Mr. Subbiah, I think your video is not on. Mr. Pradeep Pal Singh.